Have you ever heard about people making money in their sleep? Doesn't that sound great? Well, how would you like to actually be fielding job offers literally in your sleep? Can that be done? Well, maybe, yeah, I think it's possible. And I'm going to show you today how to design a LinkedIn profile that will literally compel hiring managers and recruiters to want to reach out and speak with you about opportunities that are designed specifically around the value and expertise that you have in the marketplace. Now, the key to doing this is what we call discoverability. I'm going to show you how to do that so that your LinkedIn profile lights up like a Christmas tree and everybody wants to get you at the top of the search results. So if that's interesting to you, come on and let's hop on board and get going. Well, thank you for joining me. I am Tim Tonella, and this is the Dream Job America podcast, where we look at strategies, tools, and tactics for finding your next dream job. And today we're going to be talking about something that I think is the single most important sales tool in your arsenal, which is the LinkedIn profile. Today we're going to talk about a couple core concepts that most people who are out there looking in the marketplace don't employ. And the difference between getting discovered for an opportunity or being able to reach out to somebody and getting engagement back from them is going to be following a few of these key concepts. So if you can do this, you're going to be successful. Your life's going to be a lot more easy. And you may not even have to look for the next job because you're going to find that deal flow seems to be coming more from you. Now, concept number one, your LinkedIn profile is a selling document and not an informational biography. Now, this is really, really important because if you go out there and you look at most people, their LinkedIn profiles, what you're going to find is they have just tons of information about everything that they've done over the past 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Kind of like everything they've ever done, all their expertise, their highs, their lows, where they went to school, all these different things. But nothing seems to tell a very consistent story. One of the things that we have to learn when we start off with is this is not a replacement for a resume. This is actually a marketing sales tool, a marketing and sales document, and probably the most important one that you're going to have as you continue to move forward and look for that next dream job of yours. So this is a big a shift in thought that a lot of people don't really make. Many people are not in sales and marketing, and they spent their careers doing other things. Maybe they were in product, maybe they were in finance, maybe they were in customer service, but they've never really viewed themselves as a salesperson. When you begin to look for a job of any sort, not just with LinkedIn, but with your resume, with the conversations you have when you reach out to people, when you're in line for a coffee shop, when you're reaching out through LinkedIn Messenger, or when people just call you up and they ask you kind of what you do for a living, what you're looking to do next, you have to remember you're now in the position of selling yourself. And this is very different because now you have to employ a lot of the tactics that sales and marketing people have to do to be effective. And the first thing is you have to think about yourself as a product. And as a product, you have to start thinking of benefits and not features. So what is it that you do exceptionally well, that you're really, really good at, that people have paid a premium to have you perform in the past? What are the things that make you stand out above other people maybe in similar positions? And how do you show that, demonstrate that, and quantify that? But more importantly, how do you put that story and package together for a specific type of person? So you think about it. You're going to be selling product X, Y, and Z. Somebody's going to hire you. Well, the first thing you're going to know is, well, who's the target audience? Who are we going after? If your answer is, I'm just going after every opportunity that's possibly out there, then no opportunities are going to come your way. Because the way the real world works is it's all about alignment. You have to know who you are selling to specifically. What type of position are they in? What specifically are they looking for? What problem are they trying to deal with right now, or opportunity they're trying to achieve? When someone goes out and they look to hire a person into a role, generally they've got something very specific in terms of a performance agenda that they're trying to realize through bringing that person on. And in many cases, it tends to be someone who is going to work for a single individual. right? So they don't really care so much about all your skills and all your background, but selfishly they're thinking, God, there's a couple key performance goals I've got to hit this year. And if I hit those, they're going to be home runs for me. And they may be something like, I've got a problem at work. We're trying to stop this pain as an organization. How are we going to get through that? Or here's an opportunity for us, and we're looking for a resource that we can bring in who has been there, done that before multiple times. I know as a recruiter that we develop a very tight criteria for what we're looking for, and then we go out and we look for people that have done it before in a similar environment, in a similar industry, multiple times over. Now, of course, maybe you found your job through a different way in the past. Maybe you've been able to transition from one industry to another, or you did do something very specific over and over again, but that's okay. Again, when we have these discussions, we're not looking at one-offs. We're not looking at exceptions. We're looking at the odds. If you're going to build a strategy for finding the next great opportunity, how do you do that in a clear and concise way? So it's going to have to start by understanding whom specifically you're looking to target, and then is your story put together in a way where they literally feel compelled to call you back versus other people. In other words, they need to see that you have solved the specific problem in the specific industry if possible. You've done it in a similar environment, and you've done it multiple times over. So it's going to be very, very important for you. Everything you do moving forward, every photograph in your LinkedIn profile, whether it's the large banner photograph in the back or the photograph of you as an individual, how you define what your job has been in the past, what you described in the about section of the LinkedIn profile, how you talk about what your past work experience is, what you accomplished. All these things have to be geared specifically for that individual, or you're just going to get nowhere. Think about it like a search results with Google, right? If you're the greatest product in the world, but you show up in the 200th search result, no one's ever going to find you, right? So it's very, very important that when people are looking, they're looking specifically for certain things, and you're able to define that in the profile. Very, very important. You almost have to start to think the way a recruiter thinks. And of course, I run a national recruiting firm for the last 15 years, and that's kind of what we do. When we're tasked to go out and find, let's say, a chief marketing officer, there's a very tight profile. They may have worked for certain companies we're looking for. We want to see a natural progression of jobs that they've done, or if they've been in other jobs, that they've at least carried out some of the functions if they didn't have the title of that. And from that basis, then we look for people out in the market. We use LinkedIn as one of the main tools, and we're looking for the best search results. The ones that come up first that seem most in alignment with what the criteria we're looking for are the people that we're most likely to want to call or go after. So to the degree that you can think that way and prepare a storyline, it's going to fit with that criteria, the chances of getting engagement become very, very high. Now, one of the problems that I see when executives talk to me, and again, last year alone, I did over 200 private one-on-one coaching sessions with different CEOs and founders of tech companies on this subject, is many people want to put everything they've ever done out there on their LinkedIn profile. They figure, well, I've done lots of different jobs. I can work for a big company. I can work for a small company. I can work in all these different industries. I'm kind of a great pickup ball player, and everyone's going to love that. I'm going to put everything out there on my profile, and guess what? I will feel this very, very wide net. Well, the reality is all you're going to do is create a message that does not seem very tight and cohesive, and you're not going to get pulled up. And the reason for this is because you have to assume there are 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 other people out there that are much more in alignment with the specific criteria for that job than you are. So it becomes the challenge and the task and the opportunity for you to be able to tell that story in every element of that profile, so that they view you as a potential candidate that would fit, let's say, in the top 10 or 20 people. So that's something that's going to be very important for you to do as you go through this process. Concept number 2, no one cares what you've done or what you did in your job. They care what you achieved. And think about it. What I see so often in a resume or a LinkedIn profile Are people just talking about kind of what they did day to day? They describe the role they were in a way that is similar to 1,000 other people doing the same role. So if you're a sales VP, well, of course, you're able to go out there and build relationships and deal with teams very well and close deals and prospect. Like telling me you can do that doesn't differentiate you from the millions of other people that are out there doing the exact same thing. What I want to see is what makes you different. I want to see what you've accomplished and things that you've accomplished that are going to hit my personal agenda based on the need that I have. They're going to make me feel very excited and very hungry to want to speak with you. And if I don't have that alignment, you're just another person that, I review a resume or a LinkedIn profile within the first 15 seconds and move on. So what's really important is describing those achievements. Now, when you talk about an achievement, you've got to put numbers and weighting behind it so that we understand context. And it's got to be described in a way so we understand the impact that you created for the organization and why that impact was so important. So let me give you a couple examples here. So let's say you're a chief financial officer. We're going to go back there and you're describing what you did. You put some metrics in. You talk about the company you work for and you say, hey, you were great at managing cost-cutting initiatives and driving down productivity and helping to save 15% in cost savings year after year. You hear typical things like that. Salespeople talk about in a very similar way, achieving their quota, exceeded at 10% year after year, et cetera, et cetera. But let's go back to the CFO discussion. What would be much more valuable to me would be understanding the context around that 50%, the impact that was made. For example, I don't know whether you saved, $150,000 off of $1 million budget or $1.5 million off of a $10 million budget. That's a real big difference. That means a lot more. More importantly, why did that even matter? Why was that challenging when you came into the organization? Were you really, really tight? It was very difficult to save money. Were you in the middle of a financial crisis within your own business, and that was imperative to survival? Did that cost-saving measure, was that able to stem the flow of potential reductions in a workforce and create a better organization for people even in a hard time to be able to keep their jobs? Maybe that cost-cutting initiative was able to drive future profits in a way in which you were to get a greater valuation measurement on the company, which later led to a new funding round of new money coming into it. That would be very, very important. Maybe you did certain types of acquisitions. I want to know why those acquisitions were tough, how they compare to your competitors, how they took you from one position to another in the marketplace. These are the things that we're looking to solve. When someone comes to us, a board member or an executive team, and says, hey, I need to bring on this person, it's not just because they need someone to do the job. It's because they've got a specific agenda that they need to hit to make a big difference for not only their career, but the success of the organization overall. And that to the degree in which you can show them that you actually did that, you've been through the fire, you've been on the battlefield, and you have an understanding of how to deal with these issues and come out ahead, and you've done it several times over, that's going to get somebody's attention. And that's what's going to allow you to stand out above other people. So very, very important that you describe those accomplishments. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be too braggadocious, Tim, in how I describe that. And what I'm suggesting is that you tell the truth. You put actual metrics down and you show how the achievements that you're able to get for that organization really impacted that company. I don't think that's being arrogant or braggadocious or anything. You're just kind of stating the facts and letting the reader discover what those achievements were. And when you talk about your about section in the LinkedIn profile, it's a great opportunity to pick one or two of the best achievements and describe that in a way that's going to attract attention. One of the fun things I always do when I'm talking to some people to throw them off, I'll say, hey, what's your biggest win and why? Why was that important to you? Why it was important to the organization? I mean, biggest win in your whole career. And you'd be surprised. People come back with things that are, sometimes they're great, but a lot of times they're kind of lame or they're kind of just average. And I'll go back and say, look, you've been working for 2+ decades. You've got to come up with something that's going to get the other person to turn their head and say, wow, that's really something. Maybe I should get your contact information. Maybe we should stay in touch. One of the issues job seekers always have is they're not able to see it from the perspective of the hiring manager or the recruiter on the other side. You may have done some good things, but what you're not seeing is I'm looking at 1,000 people in the same role that have also done good things. You have to be memorable. And one of the key ways to be memorable is showing that you've done things that are exceptional and why they were exceptional and to whom. So the degree that you can do that, you're going to get engagement and you're going to stand out above the pack. Okay, concept number 3. Without the right keywords, discoverability plummets. And this is what's so important. Whether you want people to find you organically and present great opportunities to you, or you're actively looking in the marketplace, if people cannot find you, then it doesn't matter how great you are. The message just goes unheard. Like I said, it's about search results. Most recruiters out there, most hiring managers, although there's a plethora of tools out there that are terrific today, don't kid yourself. People are still using LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is the vehicle that most people are using, even in business. I mean, you've got a meeting coming up next week. You're going to get on a Zoom call. You got 15 minutes before the call. You're like, who is this person, John Doe? You look them up. You put them in a browser. You do a Google search, and guess what comes up? The LinkedIn profile. It's usually there within the first 2 or 3 search results, and it's the go-to area because it is a 40,000-foot overview of that person and their business career, as presented, as the messaging goes from the source. So you would think in theory that the person who is creating this, which is the author, the candidate, that they're going to put their best foot forward, and whatever message they're putting out to the marketplace is the message that they're intending to put out there to the marketplace. So that's where everybody is going, and you just can't get away from it. It's undeniable. Whether you like LinkedIn, you don't like LinkedIn, you're a power user or not a power user, that's where people are finding you. And today it's all about your story and all about your brand and being memorable. Look, you have a brand, whether you like it or not. If your brand is milquetoast, you don't put anything out there, it's diverse, it's shallow, there's nothing out there, then that is your brand. Your brand is you're relatively unknown, right? People are going to come across that profile. They're going to look at you and they're going to say, this guy doesn't kind of meet the standards I'm looking for. It doesn't really seem like they've done anything exceptional. Well, that is your brand to the marketplace. There's an old saying that you only have one opportunity to make a first impression. Well, I would challenge that by saying with LinkedIn, that may be your only impression, because people are swiping left and they're swiping right, and you don't even know who's coming to your site, seeing you, looking at the wrong picture, looking at the wrong image, looking at the wrong title, and they're just moving on and they just bypassed you, the greatest thing for their company that they will never realize is even there. So this is why this is so important here. And with LinkedIn, here's what's so important. It still basically operates the LinkedIn tools using Boolean keyword searching techniques. So as a recruiter, right, we're going in and someone comes to us and they say, hey, I want you to find me a head of operations. And I want to see that they've maybe worked in this industry, potentially worked for these companies or with these types of companies. I want to see that they've got experience in this particular area. Maybe they went to this certain type of school and they've followed a career path where they have these other skills and experiences in the background. Well, the tools we use are basic keyword searching in LinkedIn. They're a little more sophisticated because they're tools that we buy through use LinkedIn specifically for recruiting. But the algorithm also rewards placement of certain words in certain areas. I come across a lot of people where they want to have a certain type of job, but then you look throughout their resume and nothing in that resume ever spells out any job that is similar to the one they want. Or they try to be cute. They say, well, my role is Chief Inspirational Officer. Well, We don't do searches based on chief inspirational officers. It just doesn't work that way. We're looking for a very specific title, and you put a keyword search in and it doesn't appear, then you're just not going to get noticed by us. So there's a lot of techniques you can use, but keyword searching is very important. So let me give a couple examples. And the worst thing you can do is underneath your bio picture not have any title at all. I see that all the time. Or rather than have a title, people kind of have a description of what they do without a title. I can tell you right now, that's going to just kill you. Very few people are going to find you unless they're doing a targeted search within a specific industry for competitors. So let's talk about a couple specific examples here. You are a chief marketing officer who is in the SaaS, software as a service space, and you're working on AI applications, and you're trying to find a job in that space. Where you're looking for somebody on the other side that is looking for someone who is a chief marketing officer that has experience in that industry, okay, that understands that technology and shows a very successful career progression based on the criteria that they're looking for. You're going to want to make sure that your title of your job is a chief marketing officer. And if you don't have chief marketing officer or CMO in that, let's say you're a VP of marketing, but you want to get to that next level to become a CMO, then you can put VP of marketing in there. But next to that, you could also put in parentheses, did a lot of the same operational activities traditionally associated with the CMO role. Now you say, well, why would I do that? Well, you're going to say that because you get the CMO keywords going to pull up along with VP of marketing. And hopefully if you're smart, you've put the word marketing, product marketing, all these words are embedded in your work experience throughout the LinkedIn profile so that when those keywords are put in, it literally lights up to the recruiter, marketing, 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 and it's going to catch their eye and they're going to read on a little further. Very, very important concept. You also want to do the same with industries or verticals that you've worked in. That's going to be kind of the key. Without the keywords, you're just going to get nowhere. Now, to support those keywords, right, because the keywords are going to get the attention of the recruiter, and essentially they're going to help you get higher up in the search. Once you get into the search results and you get a recruiter to spend more than 20 seconds, looking at your profile, you're going to have to then make sure that the story you tell is going to have to appeal to them and be consistent with their client. Okay, now the way to do this, as we mentioned before, is every element in that profile has to support that story that you are a chief marketing officer with expertise in these various areas. That means the banner picture in the background should reflect something around that, because when recruiters take a look at those pictures, what do they look at first? They look at the photograph of you, they look at the banner photograph, and they are registering information both consciously and subconsciously. So this information is resonating. When they go to your About section, that's your opportunity in the LinkedIn profile to talk about your story. It's your free flow space to get engagement, to get them excited about what your dreams are in marketing, what you have achieved in marketing, what you believe philosophically about marketing, and where you're trying to go in that area. So not only do they hear your story and your philosophy and your history, but they also have an ability now to look at some of the great achievements in your own words. They're going to drive that message home even further. And this is just in the About section. Next, there's an area where you can actually do posting, or you can actually write blog articles. I would suggest to everybody, write a couple blog articles. It doesn't matter whether anyone reads them. It doesn't matter whether they get past the headline. The important thing is those articles should be written. Take 3 or 4 around subjects that are going to make your case that you are a strong CMO candidate, that if you're working for an international company, you have that international experience. If you're going after earlier stage companies, that's an opportunity for you to write about your experiences marketing in early stage companies. You want to be as tightly aligned with the profile of that job or the needs of the hiring manager or the company or the recruiter is humanly possible. And that theme should continue throughout all of your work experience, building the case from day 1 to current stage, that you are a person with a focus and a mission, a clear strategy, and a clear history of success. Now, we could go into the LinkedIn profile very, very deeply, down to every specific element, how you build your case, how you write the sales copy for it, how you link things together. And those are videos for another day. But I wanted to start off with these basic 3 concepts, because just understanding these, really letting it sink in and thinking about these 3 concepts whenever you try to build your LinkedIn profile, whether you're not looking and you want to be discovered or you're actively looking in the job market, is going to be critical. Again, to sum them up, you have to move into selling mode psychologically when you begin looking for a new job. So everything in that profile has to be geared around a singular message against a singular target, in my humble opinion, to be successful. Very, very important. Second, you have to describe your experiences in terms of achievements, and achievements that are going to resonate specifically with the person that you're trying to reach, who's potentially going to be hiring you for that role. And number 3, super important, you must be discoverable. And the best way to do that is to tell a consistent message so that recruiting and hiring managers come to that site. It's very clear to them, all elements visually. The stories that you tell and the way you lay out your LinkedIn profile should lead to that singular message. And most importantly, you have to have the right keywords embedded throughout that profile so that you appear high up in the search results when recruiters and hiring managers are using LinkedIn tools. So I hope that was valuable for you today. If you like it, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is my first episode. We're going to have a lot of great things, all things hiring, things you've never heard from people, things that stem from my 15 years running a national executive recruiting firm, from my hundreds of private consultations with CEOs and company founders on how they should create a strategy and tactics for looking for their new jobs, as well as my experience in the corporate world as a leader, hiring many people over a 20-year period prior to the search history. I'm going to bring all that to you. It's all going to be there for free for you. So please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, and as a parting gift, because you've been so patient listening to this video, I would like to give you free of charge my 4-step guide to preparing to find your next dream job. This is a very comprehensive outline that you can use as a template to think about, where you're spending your time, what you have to develop in terms of tools, and some quick components for creating a strategy for preparing to either look for a job in the future or for just being prepared in case the inevitable happens, right? You never know when you're going to get laid off, when you're going to make a change. You have a new boss you don't like, pandemic hits, you have an illness in the family. Hey, things change very quickly, usually unexpectedly, and the last thing you want to do is be out there unemployed and then spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, depending upon how high up you are in the food chain, looking for something new, burning through tons of cash when your expenses are often associated with a period of your life where you're in your prime with a family, children, and a high kind of monthly nut. If we can help shorten that or be prepared to never even face that situation, then you're in good stead. So again, free of charge. All you have to do, go down to the YouTube video notes. There's a link. Click on that. It'll take you to a website where you can download the 4-step preparation guide for finding your next dream job. And that's it for today. We're out. Look forward to seeing you on some future videos.